15031. This is stage 2 diesel methanol water injection setup. So I have this old fire extinguisher, which I'm going to use for my water methanol setup, and it has this nice lid that actually just screws off, and you can have a fill your water methanol with it, right? And then what I did down here is I put a couple little mounting tabs on there so that the bottom of the fire extinguisher slides on there. And then I'll use a old hose clamp to hose clamp it to the frame. So what I have to do for that is just make a simple tab that comes up with an ear on the top of it so that the hose clamps can't slide off. And wrap it around here. Done. Easy as that. Now I have my tank installed, and you can see down in there I used a supplied bulkhead, which is actually for using like the original windshield wash tank on some of these setups. And then you can see the other push to connect fitting there on the left, which goes into my methanol injection tank, aka fire extinguisher. And you can see that I did the bulkhead connection, and it goes through that 1/4 inch frame gusset and down into here. And you can see down in there, it's the same fitting on this side. Basically it's a bulkhead fitting. If you don't know what that is, Google it. And then there is my mounts for my pump. So I welded those mounts in, which are a 1/4 inch plate with 1/4 inch studs on them, and then they go through the pump, and that line hooks to the pump. Now, this is the methanol injection pump. Obviously one side's in, one side's out. And this is the bracket that comes with it, and I just drilled out the rubber bushings a little bit bigger because they're made for like a size 10 screw. And now I can mount that pump in there and run my methanol injection lines up to my intercooler piping, which I don't have installed yet, but I need to weld on bungs for both my nozzles for my methanol injection, and then one nozzle for nitrous as well. So that's that. I think it looks pretty cool. Good use of something I had sitting around. Pretty sweet. Race rat.
Okay. That shit.
Working on mounting this Hornblaster XL train horn kit. You can see up top I made this angle iron channel, or angle iron piece, that has this wrench on it for a support on one end, and then there's like an L down this other end you probably can't see very well. And then this is where it serves as a mounting flange and as a coupler hookup for the air. And then down the bottom, these horns come with studs that come off of the horn, the head of the horn. So I made these little tabs that go onto the head of the horn, or onto the studs. And there's a flat bar here. And then what I'm gonna do here is, you can see there's a vice grip that's clamped on to the bar. And how I'm gonna attach that to the frame is I'm just gonna weld this nut You know, on a vice grip there's a nut here, or a stud, that you screw in and out to tighten or loosen. So right here I have it set to be clamped onto this bar, and then I'll weld this, and in order for this bar to come off, all I'll have to do is pull this vice grip and this bar will be able to come off because that's the only attachment point. Down here, this is just for stabilization of the train horn. You can see that, whoops, you can see that there's a little bit of wobble this way, so this will help keep it from vibrating or wobbling quite as much. And if it does end up coming loose, then I can just throw a tack on the end of the vice grip. This is just a cheap vice grip. Wasn't gonna use a good one on it, obviously, but I thought it was kind of resourceful. And then right here, there's a wrench, and down here I can run my air lines through it. These are the supplied, I believe they're 1/4 inch, maybe 5/16 air line, which goes into these fittings, so I can actually run all my air line through here and use this kind of like a collector for all of them, so they're nice and neat. And then at the top, this can be used for my nitrous line, because I'm gonna have to run nitrous line up in here and then up into this charge pipe here. So this is kind of multi-purpose, old wrenches, kind of a cool rat rod touch. So I'll get and go and weld this all up, trim these edges, make it look nice, and that'll be that. You can see it's mounted in there nicely. Fits in there pretty well. I might have to make a heat shield that comes up just right here just to keep it kind of cool, and maybe from the big turbo exhaust here. I'm gonna play that by ear, see how high it gets, but I figured this was a good use of space, and it's in the front so people will hear it. Hornblasters, I love their horns. Cleaning up this bench over here finally. Look at how much steel I've been cutting. Can barely even see this outlet. I mean, that's shit, 1/2 inch thick. Pretty nasty. Lots of grinding dust. So I'm gonna clean all this shit up. Actually, I had to unplug this because obviously the electrical circuit was completing itself and it was shorting out every 5 minutes. So obviously I had to fix that. So now I have a cover to cover up that, because since I put this vise here, this is where I do most of my cutting. Dirty. Right here I'm making a custom cradle for my Optima battery. This is a red top 3478 model. It's got the top post and the side post. I'm going to use the top post for my primary cables, and then I'm going to use the side post for my auxiliary jump cable hookups, because it's going to be mounted inside. So what I have here is just a couple pieces of angle iron that I had sitting around that I'm tacking up, basically making a box for this to sit in, and then I'll make like an angle iron strap that's gonna hold it all together. I'll show you guys how I do that, but this is what I got going on right now. So measuring, cutting, tacking, test fit, etc. Here's this in the stage where it's just all cut, and then I added on this thicker tube. It's 1/8 inch sidewall, so that this actually fits in tight into the original radiator hose. Okay, and that'll only go in about that far, so you won't really see that. Take this whole thing all the way around to make it look cool, give it a little character. This goes like this, obviously. And I gotta get a little 1.5 inch rubber hose to hook to that, and that's done. And then down here on the bottom, you can see what I got going on. I got this one down here, and I have to actually trim these flanges. I just kind of use what I had sitting around. I think it looks pretty sweet. Kind of looks like an octopus arm or something. So you got that down there, and the top one that goes back. And then I will also have tranny cooler lines, which will come down in here. Air lines will run back, brake lines, and there's also a water cooler, or this is for the heater core line, and there's another one right here, but those are actually going to go to my air to water intercooler now, which will act like a heater core, kind of, in a sense that it uses the water to cool the air instead of using the water to heat the inside. Okay, free! Straightening out this brake line that I got ordered in a roll. 25 feet was about 25 bucks. So now just straighten it out, run it, eat. So today I'm taking a break from working on some other lowrider stuff, and I'm gonna work on Wild-Torquey. So this right here is a Hurst roll control, otherwise known as a line lock. And then I actually found this cool little pressure switch. I've actually never heard of these before, but this is a pressure switch that hooks, and as soon as you get any brake pressure from pressing on the brake, then this sends the signal to your lights to turn on. Now, that is better than the conventional setup, which is right here. This is one of those switches that goes behind your pedal, and when the pedal moves, it's more of a mechanical. Right? This creates more fab work, and it's also a lot harder to adjust versus this one. Just plug and play. So what's nice about this Hurst line lock roll control is that it has one input port, which is this top one here, and 3 output ports. Now that's perfect because oftentimes you run 2 brake lines to the front. So for my application, I'm going to mount this on the firewall, and I'll have the one come in. Then I'll have one brake line on the bottom here, which is going to come out and go to my front driver's side brake, and then this one will go over to my front passenger side brake. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is I have to mount this. Well, if you look in here, it's pretty tight, and it's kind of hard with just 2 sets of hands, or 1 set of hands, to hold this and mark it and drill out the holes accurately. So what I did was just took a handy piece of tag board, I laid it flat on the table, and then marked the holes. Blah, 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 okay? Then what I did is I center punched the center of the holes. And now what I can do is I can take a magnet, like so, and my tag board, and then a handy dandy spring-loaded center punch, and I can actually magnet this piece of tag board on approximately where I want it. So now all I have to do is take my center punch and transfer these. See where the center of the hole is? You might be able to see it. Center of the hole, right? Focus, come on. Okay, right there. So I can center punch these holes, then I can move this paper away and I can pre-drill those holes for the bolts that I'm gonna run. So this little piece of tag board works out nice for that, especially if you're working alone. If you got another set of hands, it's ideal, but most people don't, so that's this. Now another thing I like about this roll control unit is, like I said, it has the 3 outputs and the 1 input. So this is perfect for the front because you don't have to buy one of these style fittings. This isn't a brake fitting, this is for air. The brake ones actually have like a little nipple on the inside for the double flare brake line. So now, because this has these 3 outputs, it actually splits it all, and I do not have to use one of these to split my front brake lines. Little splitter. Now, that saves about $4 or $5, but maybe it's just a way for me to justify running the line lock. You piece of shit. God damn it. Well, what the the fuck? The last fucking one. This is what I hate about these cheap things.
Take it to the next plateau.
I have a tip here for you guys. So what I'm doing here is I am running my brake line. I have this brake line bent, and I have to run it up through this little channel that I made for all of my plumbing. And one thing that you guys might not have thought of was how your fittings are going to slide up and down the brake line once you get it in there. So I'm going to have to actually string this brake line up through here, and this fitting is not going to want to go up and follow. It's going to want to come all the way down here, etc. So what I did was I just took a wire tie, tied it on there a few inches from the end, and now I'm going to trim it. So that's trimmed, and you can see that the fitting can't go past that wire tie. And then also this is very helpful for when it's actually on the car, because this is going to be up to the master cylinder like so. Imagine that. And this fitting could actually slide all the way down, and you would lose it forever pretty much. Be a real pain to get it. So wire tie holds your fittings close to where they need to be. Today I had a chance to get my brake lines ran from my master cylinders down to the back, where I'm gonna hook them up to the rear brakes, and up to the front, which goes to the line lock. Now I have my pressure switch in here also, and this is the Hurst line lock roll control that I was just showing you guys. So one of my least favorite things to do actually on brake system is flaring brake lines. Now you buy these tools at O'Reilly, and they work all right, but I always have a real pain in the ass doing these. One of my least favorite things to do on a car. So that's kind of taking me some time. And another thing that I thought was kind of funny actually is this is a Ford distribution block, which goes from the rear end. It attaches to the rear end, and it's got this rubber hose that comes up to the frame, so you have your suspension travel in this rubber line, right? Well, if you look at one side here, that is like a 7/16 opening, SAE 7/16, and that is a 3/8. Now, why would they do that? That's kind of stupid if you ask me. It's must be some Ford engineer thinking that it's going to make a difference, even though you have the same exact size line coming from each side, just a different size fitting. So they like to make things either more difficult, or maybe they thought that they could sell more of these or something. But these are actually a special order part from all parts stores, O'Reilly, AutoZone. So what I did here was I went with the good old Chevy part. Now this, you can see, it's the same size on each side. 3/8, 3/8, and then a 7/16 up here. And this is an off-the-shelf item. Almost all O'Reillys have these stocked, and they were $10 less than the Ford one. So I'm gonna run this one and just get a different fitting. So that just goes to show you that there's another difference between Ford and Chevy. Sorry if I'm a little biased, but it is what it is. So that's that. I'll run the lines back, make sure it all clears the travel and whatnot. Bench bleed the master cylinders, and that's that. One step closer to getting her rolling down the road. So I just bench bled that first master cylinder, and you can see what I used here was just some clear hose, and this is actually since my dad got new lungs, he won't be needing this, but these are actually nasal cannula hoses for oxygen, and they were the same size as the standard 1/8 inch MPT nipple. So I got that threaded in here, and now I will take this out and put a plug in there just to keep the fluid from kind of dripping out all over the place, and I'll put this in my other master cylinder and hook my hose up and bench bleed the same way. Good use of stuff.
We go with